Greetings and blessed love to each and everyone. We do greet you and say salamta in the name of Negus Nagas Haile Selassie I. It is a joy that I could welcome you in our presence for this wonderful press conference this morning, being the 8th day of February 2024. And again, to all our friends and well-wishers, we do once again bid you a brand new and blessed new year and new cycle as we go forward. This is the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge, and we are here to present to you the official launch of the invitation for those who will be participating in this year essay competition that surrounds Black History Month. This is the 11th edition of this beautiful exercise. And again, we're thankful for those who are present today, those who will be partaking, and again, even those who are well-wishers. I am the Honorable Priest Isaac. Here with me is the full institute, the Honorable Empress Nile, the Honorable Princess Acacia Menin, and the Honorable Prince Almasi. So I will be going into the essay competition, its importance, its history, and I will be giving you information on exactly how you and your loved ones could partake in this wonderful event. Give thanks, and before we go into that, let me share this word with you.
Attention all children from 7 to 17 and parents and guardians of the same. Join me, Honorable Priest Isaac, for this year's African History Month essay competition from the 8th of February to the 8th of March with announcement of winners, prize giving ceremony and banquet to follow. This is our 11th year. There will be laptops, tablets, computer classes and much more to be won. To register or get more information, call or WhatsApp 728-8289 or visit our website priestisaacinstitute.com or give us an email priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com. African History Month Essay Competition.
And once again, let me say blessed love to each and every one. And I must begin by expressing the joy that is within my heart, knowing that this is the 11th year that we will be entering into this wonderful competition. My royal family, it is almost 20 years that I have been advocating for our African history and heritage to be placed in our classrooms, to be placed into our schools. You know, we as a people here in the nation of Antigua and Barbuda, we are 95, 96, maybe even more as it relates to the percentage African heritage, as it relates to our ancestry. That means most of us are Black people. And because of such, we have reminisced on the whole thought frame of Marcus Garvey, that a people without knowledge of their self is like a tree without roots. Now, he did not necessarily say Black people who have no knowledge of their self, although I know he was speaking of them. But the reality goes to all people, any species, even if it is an animal that does not have knowledge of themselves, that does not understand how to create for themselves, that does not understand their history. Even the bird knows how to create its nest because it's naturally inside of its instinct, or maybe its mother would have taught it. So it is important for a people to have knowledge of themselves, because the absence of knowledge of self, again, as Messiah Garvey would have said, you would be like a tree without roots. And we understand what a tree without roots is. In fact, we understand the importance of the roots. The roots is what takes the minerals from the earth, the nutrients. It is because of the roots the tree can grow and flourish. A tree without roots is like a lamp post that is just dug into the ground. So this is why African history and heritage is so important. And this is why, again, for almost 2 decades, we have been advocating, literally hitting at the doors of the Ministry of Education and, of course, the governance, pardon me, in general of the day to bring in African history and heritage into the school, into the classroom, to bring it to the children, so at least they can reconnect themselves. Remember, I just said 95 plus percentage, the people in the nation of Antigua and Barbuda, African descendants, are people without knowledge of where they come from, a tree without a root. So this is why the classroom, the education system, I would consider to be the most important ground, foundation, fertile ground for the mind of the child. So within the education system, within the curriculum, within the whole aspect of the syllabus, there should be some space, some avenue should be created to bring to the child their Afrocentricity, their African history, and their African heritage. Up to this day, this has not been done. And this is why approximately 11 years ago, I decided to enter into my society the concept of writing an essay around African history and heritage. I strategically utilized African History Month, the month of February. Yes, I understand that it is the shortest month, but it appears as if our people are gravitated to the celebration of African History Month, which is very good. In fact, in the last decade, we have noticed even the schools have their African History Month programs. Little children are dressed up in their African wear. When I was much younger, we never saw anything like this. So since there is this growth towards understanding our Afrocentricity, I thought that I would ride the wave and utilize African History Month and bring to the nation an essay competition to encourage the young ones, boys, girls, princes, and princesses, to go and investigate their African history and heritage, which obviously will be assisting them to connect with their history, because you remember how we began, a people without knowledge of self. Their history and their heritage is like a tree without its roots. Now, of course, when you ask the young people to write an essay that is entitled, "What does African history and heritage mean to me?" Of course, more than likely the answer will be, well, African history and heritage don't mean a thing to me. Write an essay. Yeah? How many words? 300? I don't think I have time for that, sir. But when you explain to them, well, my brother, my sister, you can win a brand new laptop. Oh, you could win a brand new tablet. Is that so? Then they will be encouraged to go and investigate. More than likely, they're going to just Google African history. More than likely, they're going to Google African heritage. And of course, 11 years, and we would have judged many essays. You could take it from me. Many ones go and Google African history. That is why when the essays come to you, many ones actually have the same essay. And you yourself can go to the internet and see where they would have copied it, in some cases, word for word. Why I have a little joy in saying that? Because at least it's a start. Because if they were not encouraged to do that, they would not even have tried to investigate African history or heritage. You see, family, we must understand, this is not just an exercise. This is not just something that we're doing as a hobby. We clearly see that our people need more motivation. They need inspiration. Our young ones need counseling. They need guidance. Is there anyone that is listening to me that disagrees with that? So what is the solution, family? I'm going to say this again. A people without knowledge of self is like a tree without roots. Let us at least try to give our people the knowledge of themselves. Let us ease off for a moment of teaching them the knowledge of other people. Let us forget about the holidays. Let us forget about even the nursery rhymes and the nursery rhymes and all of these fable stories that come from even the ancestors of our slave master. This is very important. And this is why a people needs the knowledge of their self. And this is why we have been advocating for almost 2 decades for the introduction of African history and heritage into the schools. Now, family, I won't be long, but in the few moments that I will entertain you, I will definitely be strong. Our African history and heritage is extremely important. Many young minds, again, do not understand the glory of their past. Many ones, when you speak of African history, they think about slavery. And even the slavery experience is not graphically detailed. In fact, slavery, as it is called, needs some attention. Our people really need to comprehend what that practice, what that campaign and activity and crusade was all about. The economical mission behind of slavery, which is still flourishing today for the descendants of the slave masters. But our African history and heritage is way beyond slavery. What is called slavery actually is a great assistance in crippling our understanding of who we are. The African continent, my brothers and sisters, the great river Nile. We are speaking of the longest river on the planet Earth. How many of us, when we went to school, learned that the river Nile is actually aligned with the Milky Way within the celestial realms, within the heavens? The river Nile flowing out of Uganda, the river Nile flowing out of Ethiopia, and joining the Blue Nile and the White Nile in Khartoum, which is in Sudan, and going down northwards, yes, down, literally down, northwards into ancient Kemet, which is known as Egypt today. It is along the banks of this river Nile, the longest and the greatest river in history. It is along the banks of this river where civilization began. So when you speak about all the great kingdoms, when you speak of the kingdom of Kush, when you speak of the kingdom of Napata, when you speak of Thebes, modern-day Luxor, all of these great cities and kingdoms are on the banks of the river Nile. When you speak about the creation of a language, the first, our classical language, which is known as Medu Neter, today it is called the hieroglyphs. We're going at least 10,000 years BCE. We're talking about 12,000 years ago. You do not have a civilization unless you have a language. You do not have a civilization unless you have a script. You do not have a civilization unless you understand mathematics and geometry. And it is along the banks of the river Nile where civilization began. This is why we have archaeology. This is why we have paleontology. This is why we have anthropology, so that those who have experts in the field can go and dig up the information and put it in the journals, and we can read it and say, look at here. The first ancient language is found in ancient Egypt, which is ancient Kemet, Northeast Africa. How many of our children know that? Knowledge of self, the tree without root. You see, this is how you get confidence in yourself. You don't have confidence unless you know who you are. There's no one who's unaware of the ability that has confidence in themselves. When you know who you are, when you know what you can do, when you know you're unstoppable, you mean to tell me this is where I am coming from? That means you get a pep in your step. You understand? You think clearer. You make more sensible decisions. Let's continue. The ancient Medunetta, the ancient writing. In fact, what we even wrote on, the papyri plant, is the origin of paper. The ancient scrolls, when you watch the Egyptian movies and you see them reading the scrolls, and don't take it for a joke. This is where writing began. This is where language itself began. And this is where even the paper, the scrolls, were taken from the papyri plants. In fact, papyri, or the papyrus, is where you get the term paper, papel in Espanol. African science, African history, African heritage, all along the banks of the River Nile, the great Nile civilization. Yesterday, it's Ethiopia and Uganda and Kenya and Sudan and Djibouti and Eritrea and Egypt. But back in the days, it was one kingdom known as Smaitawi. This is the Iknish, which they refer to as Lucy. This is in Ethiopia. These bones are 3.2 million years old. 3.2 million years old. This is the skeletal remains of a woman, a few steps before Homo sapiens sapien, just behind of Homo erectus, showing you that as it relates to the origin of mankind, the oldest fossils of human beings and pre-human beings are found where? No offense to no one, but not in China, not in Manhattan, not in Peru. They are found in Ethiopia, Africa. This is why knowledge of self is important. Look at the African children, taking their times to observe the Iknish, which is Lucy in Ethiopia. Okay, let us just continue just quickly. All of this is so exciting. Look at the African people on their stilts. Many ones who are in Antigua, the nation of Antigua and Barbuda and the Caribbean in general, who celebrate Carnival. You will observe the similarity in how the Dogon people of Central and West Africa, and even East Africa, the Dogons are not to be given one spot in Africa. The Dogons are universal. The Dogons are traveling even from ancient Kemet. These people, the Dogons, D-O-G-O-N, they are known as the star people. They have a celestial connection with the heavens. They have a specific dance that mimics the movement of Sirius A and Sirius B. Again, many ones know that I am a certified archaeoastronomer. And obviously, studying astronomy, you must understand that Sirius A, Sirius itself, is considered to be the brightest star in the sky. But Sirius is actually two stars, Sirius A and Sirius B. And do you know that modern day astronomy just discovered Sirius B about 100 or so years ago? But the Dogon people, for almost 1,000 years, have been mapping Sirius B. Now just comprehend that. We're talking about a people that had no telescopes, no Webb, no James Webb. I'm talking about the telescope that has gone up into space. They had no means of modern technology to track Sirius B. But they knew that it was there, and they actually, listen to this, they actually mimicked the binary rotation of Sirius A and B and revolution in a dance that they perform every 60 years. Just comprehend that. A people that many of us would say, oh, were uncivilized. But yet still, in their so-called uncivilized state, they could see a star that you cannot see with the naked eyes. You need the highest level of technology to even detect this star. And not only did they see the star, but they could perform a dance for you every 60 years, mimicking the movement of that binary star system. A people without knowledge of self is like a tree without root. Now, you see, family, obviously you could see that this is my passion. And this is why sometimes, you know, when we talk about the ills in society, many times you have to wonder if we have an open ear for the solutions. It's not one solution. I'm not coming with a flag and say, oh, I have it here, I have it here. Stop the whole show. No. But as we say, one full basket. And I know if the African History Month essay competition was to be embraced on the levels that we have pitched it, it would be a great assistance in the long run to our society in general. More so if African history and heritage, which is beyond just history, African history and heritage is extremely broad. If that is taken up from kindergarten until, believe me, we would be the shining light of the planet. But let us continue in the interest of time. Lalibela in Ethiopia, where you have the rock churches, literally built. Did you say built? Yeah, built. No, not built. What is it? They were carved. Oh, nobody built anything here. Nobody went to get no aggregates. You have in Ethiopia, my royal family, 12 to 13, depending on how you look at the structure, churches that were carved out of solid rock, carved out of the mountainside. And I'm talking about churches that can be compared to any cathedral in Europe. Lalibela, the churches of King Lalibela in Roha Lasta, Ethiopia. And interestingly, these were built or created, I should say, recently in modern times. You know, it's about 900, 800 to 900 years ago when King Lalibela ruled in Ethiopia. Most of the great monuments that we have in Africa, like the Great Pyramids, we're talking like 5,000 years ago, and 3,000 years BCE, and the Temple of Karnak and Abu Simbel. But Lalibela, which stands amongst them all, again, less than 900 years ago. So that is to show you that our greatness, our engineering skills, obviously our understanding of the celestial world, even the Dogons, the Dogons story is not a thousands of years ago story. It's a hundreds of years ago story. I'm trying to show you that our ability to do the greatness that you see in African history is not in Bible days. It's great, 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 great times two grandfather days ago. That means within us, we have the ability to do great things, but because we do not understand who we are, our African history and heritage, obviously, we're not even aware that we have these abilities inside of us. Let's just move on quickly. You can clearly see, even when it comes to the theological world, Ethiopia itself is the first country mentioned in the Bible as a country today, the oldest surviving Bible. The oldest surviving Bibles are found in Ethiopia, manuscripts for the clergy. So the Bibles that you find in Armenia, the Bibles, the Syriac Bibles, and the Germanic Bibles, there are no Bibles on the planet that are older than the Bibles that are found in the monastery of Ethiopia. Now, it's obvious that in these oldest of Bibles, the biblical characters are seen as people of color, to put it mildly. In fact, you could see for yourself the transformation from the ancient African mother and child. This is where in Smitawi, you have Aset and Heru, the African mother and child. And then, of course, in the Coptic world, you could see the very beautiful rendition of the Madonna and child. This one is more referred to as. And then now, as this says here, way after, when we came into our enslavement, we were introduced to this version of our anciency. And it's not just what we see, but the concepts that come with it is just as bad. And this is serious, family. As I said at the beginning of this press conference, and give thanks for those who are present, this has nothing to do with being prejudiced, biased, and, because of our serious state, sometimes we get afraid of the truth. Even a simple truth like this, many get offended and even want to run away. I understand your predicament, but no need to be afraid. You want to teach your babies the truth. And of course, we are a loving people. We have no history of enslaving nobody else. We are just expressing the knowledge that has been hidden for centuries. We're just unearthing it like the Sphinx, her Emaket in Egypt that was under the sand for thousands of years. A people of knowledge of self. So obviously, when you understand that, but wait, I don't hate nobody, but you mean to tell me Christ was really an African? That's interesting. And next pep in your step. Good. Now, again, when we just understand our ancient science and we look at what has been given to us today, you understand how it's important. You see, let me say this before we conclude. Do not pretend and act as if you do not want to admit that there is a strong agenda to keep the knowledge of ourselves from us. Straight up. What you refer to as the enslavement period, we have to bring that in. Because you must understand that if you comprehend history properly, like for example, just the other day, I was observing a beautiful video with Marcus Messiah Garvey's son. He's alive, not a lot, just a modern day video. He just did an interview. And I was just thinking to myself that Marcus Messiah Garvey was born about 20 years or so after the emancipation of slavery in the USA. That's Marcus Garvey, born about 20 years after the emancipation of slavery. He was born 1887, and in the 1860s in the USA, slavery was emancipated. And I was just saying to myself, I'm looking at Marcus Garvey's son, not his grandson, his son. I'm looking at the son of someone who was just born a few years after slavery. And that's not just in Marcus Garvey's son case, that's in all of our case. Like myself, like another person. Any one of us, if we take the time to really track back, your grandfather may have been a slave. Your great-grandfather may have been a slave, or enslaved, I should say. More than likely, your great-great-grandfather, more than likely, was there in that time. That's not too long ago. And I think we all understand that even the emancipation process had a lot to do with compensating the slave master. I think we know all of that. This is why those who were released did not get any compensation. This is why up to today, People are speaking of reparation, and it is impossible for you to get the masses government. In all humility, it's impossible for us to get our people to stand behind reparation when they don't understand what we're talking about. And they cannot understand what we're talking about unless they have knowledge of self. Could you imagine if we even got 25% of what I'm trying to say here in our school system when we came through? 70% of our nation would be standing up for reparation because they understand its value. So it starts from the root. Just throwing reparation on the table and say, we have a reparation commission, let's go. And that's why people say, oh, we're not with that, because they have no idea. They do not comprehend. Now, I'm not making excuse for no one, because we all have the ability to research and look into ourselves. But I'm not talking about the old now. I'm talking about the young, who we're bringing out of the womb, who we're putting in the kindergartens, who we're putting in the primary schools, who we're putting in the secondary schools. They're the ones that I am paying attention to. I'm looking towards the future. So family, again, this is the Olmec, ancient Olmec people found, listen to this, in the Western world. These statues, these stonehead structures are not from Ethiopia. They're not from Egypt. They're from Central America. In fact, right here in Antigua, this is myself on Green Castle Hill. This is Antigua. This is not Africa. This is Antigua. Right here in Antigua, we have stone structures on Green Castle Hill, even resembling the very same Olmec head structure that is found in Central America. African history, unlike any level of African history, can be found right here in Antigua. And this is why, I'm sure everyone knows, we have championed the cause as it relates to preserving Green Castle Hill. I think everyone knows, again, it's almost, no, we have actually hit 20 years since we have been doing these hikes to Green Castle Hill, since we've been advocating over and over again to the government as it relates to assisting us in this, push to stop the destruction of the hill. As you know, Green Castle Hill is being destroyed even as I speak to you. From the time I knew Green Castle Hill to now, I mean, so much of the hill has been taken away because of quarrying and dynamite and explosions. These sacred stones that align with the celestial movements of the heavens. This is serious, my family. As you know, I went and certified myself in the craft of archaeoastronomy, which is exactly what Green Castle Hill is about. It's an archaeoastronomical hub. This is Black history. This is African history, my royal brothers and sisters. So again, in conclusion, because there's so many more information that I could bring to you, but because of the interest of time, and I know many ones also may want to get some questions out. I'm going to really just encourage us as a people to understand that there is a solution, or there are solutions to our dilemma and the problems that plague our society. We have to genuinely want to help the young ones. We have to genuinely want to do better for the children. We want to help the little ones. We want to strengthen them, raise their standards. I always say, don't know what it is, but I don't think, even if I grew up in an environment where pulling down your pants and showing your underwear was the fad of the day, I don't think I would need somebody to sit me down and say, my brother, I don't think that's a good thing. But yet still, we see that that's the style today. I mean, as it relates to the pants, how low can you go? That seems to be the theme. And believe it or not, that's not the problem. That's just an expression of how severe the problem is. Yeah. So, in conclusion, I would just like to read quickly for you the mandate as it relates to the essay competition. Let me be thankful for your patience, your listening, and your attention. And as it relates to the African History Month essay competition, African Heritage Essay Competition, Priest Isaac's Institute African History Month essay competition. Now, what you're looking at on the screen, for those who are viewing on YouTube, Facebook, wherever, you could also get a copy of this. For those who would like to see exactly what the mission is, for those who would like to get an understanding of the budget, this is what this document is all about, and we could email this to you in a second. Of course, just email us, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com, or of course, visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, and we can send you a copy of this essay competition budget, and also you will be in a position to contribute if you so wish. But let me go through this with you quickly so you get a good understanding of what it is all about. There is a nice picture of myself and a quotation. Now, let me just go into the meat of it. Our background. Pardon. Every year in the month of February, we host our annual African Heritage Essay Competition. This upcoming year, 2024, will be our 11th year. Every February, we host a competition, at which time we invite the children of our nation, Antigua and Barbuda, to write an essay entitled, "What Does African History/Heritage Mean to Me?" The reason for this competition is to spark a lasting interest in the hearts of our youth for African history and heritage. Our judging criteria. All youths are divided into 3 groups: the seniors, the intermediates, and the juniors. The ages range from 7 to 17. For each of the previous, that should have been 10 years of this competition, we have provided prizes such as laptops, tablets, etc. These prizes are allocated through contributions from individuals and organizations of goodwill, such as you and yours. And as I said, this is really the budget and the budget presentation. So this is why I'm saying, if you want a copy of this, you can get a copy of this, because this is really what we would present to individuals who would be potential sponsors. And as I said, this was literally done even for 2000 and from 2023. Fundraiser goal. All components will be the same. The rules will be the same, and the prizes for the international essay competition will mirror that of the national, and all things considered. And that has a lot to do with the international essay competition itself. So there's a national, international, but at the moment we're highlighting the national. Now, you could see here the African Heritage Essay Competition budget 2024. And as I said, we could send the budget to you. I want ones to keep in mind, this is more than just the prizes. Now, yes, the prizes, laptops, printers, tablets, of which we would have already begun to collect these prizes. But what I'm showing to the family, that this mission, this is very important. I want you to understand this good. This is the 11th year. And within the 11-year period, this is something that is not necessarily sponsored by any group or any company other than ourselves. We have several fine-hearted people that assist us every year, and some that come on board every now and again. And even this year, we have a few beautiful people that are coming on board for the first time. So let me be clear, we are thankful for that support. And before I seal, I will be giving you the names of those who would have contributed and supported this year thus far. But as you can see, this is an event that desires a lot of promotion and even marketing. For those who even understand the business cycle, even if it is nothing that you are selling for a profit as such, but you still have to sell your idea. Do you know that the nation has to buy into the idea that I am pitching for them to come on board and partake? So promotion and marketing, that alone is a budget by itself. That is media, that is constant advertising, even getting into the schools, because you must keep in mind, it is not funded even by the Ministry of Education. We have always received the best wishes from the ministry as such, but the full package is a very grand package. So I must make that very clear. As far as even the banquet, every year we have a gala banquet, whether it's at the Portsland Hotel, whether it's at the Heritage Key Hotel, whether it's at the City View Hotel, when the City View Hotel was functioning. And this year, we will be having, as always, a gala banquet where we have pristine entertainment, where we have the best fine dining when it comes to cuisine. I mean, plant-based cuisine. So it's top class we produce, so that the children who win will get their prizes in the presence of their family. Of course, it's always recorded and definitely brought back on these networks. So just in case, you know, this may be all new to you, I just want you to get an idea of what we are doing and what we are continually doing. And this is why we reach out to some fine people every year, like yourself, to contribute. And I must say, I think everyone would agree that this project is extremely transparent and accountable. I would like to say thank you to some fine people. For example, battery engineer, Mr. Paddy Simon, also the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. We also like to say thank you to James and McGinley, to FabTech. We'd also like to show appreciation to Veggie World, also Senator Shanella Govaya. We'd also like to say thank you to Brother Saeed Green, Sister Makeda Makel, also the Honorable Algernon Serpent Watts. We'd also like to say thank you to Sister Mr. and Mrs. Warner, Brother Regis Burton, Sister Natalie from
A&F Manufacturing.
A&F Manufacturing, also Brother Tong from B&M Gutters, and that's for the moment. And we are thankful for all those who would eventually contribute to this affair. So with that, I would like to give thanks for you being ever so patient. to listen to my expression, to listen to even my heart and my passion in this presentation here for the press conference of this African History Month essay competition. Again, today is the 8th of February. It will be running until the 8th of March, and all submissions could come through the email priestIsaacInstitute@gmail.com. If you do not have that luxury and you even prefer to write it the old-fashioned way, of course, we will be very happy to receive that. But it will be very important that you still contact us. Our number, 728-8289, 728-8289, where you could WhatsApp us as well to get more clarity as it relates to the presentation, because when the young ones present their essay in written form, the rules are somewhat strict. And I could give you an idea, but I still prefer you get it in writing so you understand clearly. They cannot fold the presentation in a regular, I think it's 5x3 envelope or whatever size that is. We're going to need a professional envelope or a folder. That's very, very important. The name must be clear, the date of birth, just so we can clarify that they fit the criteria of the age bracket at the time of their presentation. All of this is very important. So I'm asking for you to just understand, have understanding with us. And those who will be presenting their essay, they could present it to us at our headquarters, specifically at the Priest Isaac's Institute, or it is still open for them to deliver it to us at the top ranking establishment on the old Parham Road. And of course, they have until the 8th of March, pardon me. But again, I'm still asking that you visit our website or email us or give us a WhatsApp or even a quick call just to gather some more information. The WhatsApp is better because we can send it to you without any long exchange. You know, we know your time is very valuable. So I do give thanks for the life giver and the keeper of life. And again, we will be just searching to see if there are any questions in the chat. And if not, I will just address even the few questions that we have here. Now, one of the concerns, which is just a simple concern, is what about children that are not up to the age? What is available for them? Okay, well, the answer to that is really, as I said, yes, the essay competition, and I understand the feeling, obviously, but the essay competition was designed for children 7 to 17. Now, when we started the essay competition, I think it's the third year. I'm a little, on that one, but I think it's the third year, the third or fourth year, where I brought in an art competition. Some of you would remember that. And that was designed for people under 7, as young as it could be if the baby just born last week and they could draw. I remember I would say that when I went on the air. So that we could fill in that gap. So we weren't giving the children under 7 like an essay to write. We created an art competition. It wasn't during African History Month. It was during the time of the season of Christmas. And the criteria for this one now was that the children had to draw, paint, whatever, an African version of Christ and his mother. And people would go on the radio and say, what the priest say you want? A black Jesus and Mary? That's not exactly what I said. And you see that carries it deep. That's not what I said, actually. An African version of Christ and his mother. In fact, let me just show you quickly something here, which I just showed you a moment ago when I was expressing Isis and Horus, etc. Now, what you are looking at here is just that. What you're looking at here is just that, an African version of Christ and his mother. Now, this is not necessarily Mary as such. This may be where the Mary character was taken from, because in ancient Kemet, Mary is love. Mary is to have affection for. So that's why you would hear in many of the king's name the term Mary, Merira, or Ursa Ma'atra, Setepenra, Mary, Mesu, Amen. So Mary is love. So you have the Aset and the Heru. So if the child was to draw or paint a picture of Aset or Heru, just as you see here, it will pass. Now, in the Mary and Jesus world, they wouldn't accept that. They will tell you that's not Mary and Jesus. That's what I'm telling you. I didn't ask for that. I asked for an African version of Christ and his mother. Now, it could be, quote unquote, as they put it, a Black Mary and Jesus, and all of this was to just make sure that we get into the minds, I'm not ashamed to say that, get into the minds of the young ones so that we can stimulate their zeal for their Afrocentricity. Imagine you are a blackbird, you know what I mean, being raised by garlands. And for whatever reason, you feel you're a garland. And those who are not from Antigua that don't know what's a garland, that's an egret raising a little crow. All right. I think I'm going a little too extra. Yes. I know that there was another concern. I think it had to do simply with okay. Well, again, this has to do with the type of, if a child can use pen or pencil. Presentation is very important to me. You could even type. Now, I must say, in the early days, I didn't do any of the adjudication. I had other ones coming, and even the ancestor King Frank, Brother Alistair Thomas. I think Syed Green one year also assisted me to judging. But then for the last several years, it has just been the Institute that has done most of it. In the future, I definitely intend to incorporate other professionals as well. But for me, presentation is very important. I like when I look, even before I read, I like to say, yeah, this looks nice. Sometimes I must say I see some nice, pretty clean work and get a bit disappointed when I read it, but that's how it goes sometimes. But I love presentation. I don't want to see no pencil and it's smudgy. Oh man, I don't know what you have written there, but that will turn me off. So I like to see neat, folded. I have a preference with handwriting too, neat handwriting. But again, we try not to make our preference get in the way. That's why, it's not myself alone that does the adjudication. But so handwriting or typing, or you email it, or you bring it in, you don't get no extra marks or lose marks because you did any of these things. Yes, there may be a preference, because I prefer you put it in an envelope in a nice folder, and I get it in my hand and I open it and I take it out and say, this is a nice, neat looking work. You could put your designs and everything, put effort into it. That's how you win the laptop, little ones. That's how you win the tablets. That's how you win whatever. Also, there are other gifts that come as part of the prize package. We offer computer classes, parents, for the winners. So they don't just get the computer, they'll be getting computer classes to go along with it. Give thanks to Brother Abrahams, even at Computer Reset, who has been with us from not from the inception, but from the very first time we would have approached him, and that is several years ago. So we are very, very thankful for that brother and all his assistants. Let me see. Okay, well, I would have exhausted those questions. Do we have any questions on the chat from the YouTube? Or?
I'm not seeing any questions.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Well, family, again, we actually have come to the exact 10 o'clock on the dot, as we would have given an hour for this press conference. So give thanks again, family. It's an extremely rainy day here in Antigua, and we're thankful for the showers of blessings. And of course, give thanks for all those who would have partook of this royal press conference. Looking forward to greater things in the future to come. Blessed love to each and every one. Holy Emmanuel, I, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari.